The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contests, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
Time for round 2 of Walking Dead What Ifs. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. We're answering your questions and pondering what if with a bunch of different scenarios from the Walking Dead television show. Now, normally we don't do 2 a week, but we kind of had to cut it short last one we did on Monday. So we're going to do another one. And if you are a regular subscriber of our channel, we won't be having a Weird Wednesday today because we don't have time to do both. And we promised you we'd do a part 2 to this. So here we go. JP. We're picking up where we left off.
Hey. Yeah, we got a bunch. Well, not a bunch. We got some from Monday's video, which I don't know. You may want to save those for next week. But we got some more goodness from Stefan Miller. We got a long one, basically a fanfic from Allie Smith that I'm going to do my best to orate. And so we got some good stuff to touch on this week, man. I'm going to jump into Allie Smith's, man, while I still got some spit in my mouth.
Okay.
All right, so here she says, I have another long scenario/glorified fanfic here for you guys, so bear with me. We will certainly dive right on in. Now, she says, I imagine that the Walking Dead universe will culminate in a war with the CRM versus the Commonwealth and its allies, Georgie's group, Fear the Walking Dead group, becoming the Western Alliance, and whatever group Michonne ran into during her final episode. Through Fear the Walking Dead and the World Beyond, 3 major things have been revealed to us about the CRM. They have a population of 200,000, they have access to fast transportation, i.e. helicopters, and they have retained pre-apocalyptic technology. We can assume that because of these things, the CRM has been aware of the Commonwealth for a long time. Commonwealth has a substantial population themselves, so if the CRM hasn't wiped them out yet, they probably had some sort of truce. For this question, let's assume that the truce is broken around the time of Season 11 of The Walking Dead, so as our group arrives at the Commonwealth, and here we're launching right on in. We can also assume that the reason Rick hasn't returned in 6 years is because of the CRM has promised to destroy Alexandria if he does. That's kind of what I speculated on. Mm-hmm. Just like how they obliterated the campus colony, Alexandria, Hilltop, and Oceanside's populations altogether don't exceed a couple hundred. Rick knows that they could be easily wiped out if he tries anything, so he stays in line the best he can. With that premise, imagine that Rick has secured a position in the organization similar to Isabel's from Fear the Walking Dead. He would be instructed to fly around in a helicopter to scope things out and collect supplies for CRM. Because of his status, he would overhear about how the truce between the CRM and the Commonwealth has ended and that war between the two is approaching. With his conscience, he can't stand by and just let this happen, given that the CRM would probably decimate the Commonwealth in a series of ambushes. With the help of the genius Dr. Leo Bennett, Rick is able to rig the tracking devices in his helicopter, preventing the CRM from knowing he went off course. He flies to the Commonwealth, lands a few miles away, and after handing over some weapons and promising that he has valuable information that Governor Milton would want, is escorted by the soldiers to the entrance. The final episode of The Walking Dead starts after the events that occur in the comic. We see the silhouette of a man being escorted to what is now Maggie's office in the Commonwealth. Having been prepared to see Pamela Milton, Rick thinks he is going crazy until Maggie introduces herself as Governor Maggie Rhee. Maggie ends up recognizing him. Rick is ultimately reunited with Daryl, Carol, Judith, etc., and meets RJ for the first time. He has found his family, and the coming war is all the more important. The Daryl and Carol spinoff is about the two looking for a big group in Texas that Rick would have heard about. They end up allying themselves with the new heads of the Pioneers, Morgan, Alicia, and Victor Strand. Gimple has mentioned a possible Michonne spinoff movie, so that could be about her ultimately allying the group she found with the Commonwealth. These numbers should even up the playing field between CRM and Commonwealth. Based on this situation, do you guys think Rick would survive the war? Who do you think would reasonably win, CRM or Commonwealth and its allies? And with this premise, would the movies end like the comics did, just with Judith or RJ in Carl's place? Why or why not? I feel like this is an essay question on like a college course or something.
No kidding.
That is a lot to chew on in a very well thought out scenario.
Yeah, maybe she should just go right for The Walking Dead.
I think she'd probably do better than a lot of them.
I think she would do better than some of the writers they've had throughout the run of the show. I mean, plot armor, the Commonwealth would probably win just because the story would call for them to. But I mean, with all of that, I mean, I think the Commonwealth would. But the thing is that right at the moment, I know based on hers that they don't. But I mean, at the moment, we don't know how strong the Commonwealth is.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and again, like you said, we don't know what they have and what they don't have. I mean, the CRM definitely has a huge advantage being airborne. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm guessing not a lot of communities have that capability.
No.
I mean, we saw how it worked out for the Fear the Walking Dead crew when they took to the skies.
I mean, realistically, I think the CRM could still probably wipe them out. But with that said, I don't think the story would let that happen.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it would end with just the CRM and the Commonwealth kind of mutually assured destruction, obliterating each other, and then you're just kind of left with what they had before, just these small communities peppered throughout the country.
Well, it might come down to, like, I don't know, as silly as it sounds, Hope or Huck or somebody taking over the CRM and, you know, bringing about peace and stop all of the horrible things they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that could be another one. There definitely needs to be like sort of I don't want to say a mole, but, you know, dissension in the ranks, somebody to kind of rise up and.
I mean, it would be great if all three shows culminated and ended with a giant war that involved everybody. But I mean, how are you going to get? I mean, John Dory, what's cool is he's on the go. He's by himself. Mm-hmm. I mean, it'd be great if he just drove his ass 6 years into the future and wound up on the new season of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And I do like the idea of Daryl and Carol going out west and, you know, hooking up with the Fear crew. That would be a cool direction for their series.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, Daryl and Carol, they would love seeing Morgan again. Dwight, maybe not so much, but...
You bastard. Both with Carol, it's like, hey, Morgan, one of the last times I guess it wasn't one of the last times, but it's like, remember the time you body slammed me?
Yeah.
And I'm an older lady. My back should have been broke, but fortunately I have that plot armor, and all I did was suffer a mild concussion.
Yeah, dude, he slammed her down hard.
Like, straight up, what was it? What was the old, like, wrestling move where you grab them between the legs?
Was it straight up body slam?
I mean, it won't far from it.
Like an Andre the Giant kind of body slam.
Yeah, that's doom.
Yeah, just straight up, just old school wrestling technique.
Could have been. I'd
have loved to have just seen him hit her with the Stone Cold Stunner or something.
Just like, off the ropes. Yeah. Like all of a sudden the walls drop and there's ropes, and Rick and everybody are the crowd. They're eating popcorn. Rick's like, body slammer!
Oh, man. I think Rick would be good at wrestling commentary. He'd kind of be like a Jim Ross kind of figure.
I used to teach Carl this move one time. I think the Commonwealth would win because the plot would call for it. I mean, really, when you think about it, the CRM has helicopters, but we've also seen access in the show to bazookas and rocket launchers, things like that. And those helicopters ain't too nifty when you blow them out the sky.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we really, you know, like you said, we don't know the Commonwealth's capabilities. They could have, you know, anti-aircraft kind of what you call ordnance. Or
At the moment, they have stormtroopers, and we know it doesn't ever work out very well for the stormtroopers.
We know their aim is for shit.
Like in that new episode of The Mandalorian, man, I won't spoil anything, but somebody put the whoop down on so many stormtroopers. Like, my God, right. At what point does the Empire not say, all right, we need to go back and retrain our troops from the ground up? When someone's shooting at you, here's what we don't do. We don't run right into the line of fire.
And for one thing, man, that armor seems to be just useless. I mean, you whack them real good in the head with a stick, and they're just done.
Oh yeah, that armor. It's like space plastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it's made of nothing, and no more. You know, like why wear that armor? I mean, maybe the reason they're running right into the line of fire is those helmets are so restrictive on their view. They're just running around hoping they find somebody.
Maybe, man. I mean, the Mandalorian's armor can take anything. That stormtrooper armor ain't worth a damn.
I mean, you just got like I said. I won't say who because that's kind of a big cool reveal. But somebody takes a stick and whoops the living crap out of a bunch of stormtroopers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the dude in I'm with the Force is with me from Rogue One. He was using a stick and whooping stormtroopers' ass.
Oh, yeah.
You remember?
Oh, now I'm sad.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm sad. But I need 10 minutes.
Oh.
When his friend goes to him and holds him and realizes, oh, no, it's so sad.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cry.
No.
You know where that comes from.
Oh, my God.
I am not going to cry. But anyways.
Yeah, Allie, that's an awesome layout, and I don't think we can elaborate any better
I think
than what
Allie should
done.
write fan fiction and we should narrate it.
Oh, dude, I would love that.
Allie,
man.
if you do that, we will release a series with you writing, and we'll give you writing credit. You write us out some fan fiction, and JP and I will narrate it. Like, write it in the kind of like imagine an old radio show. Write it in a way that it can be narrated, and JP and I will be the ones to narrate it happily.
Yeah, just beautiful work, Allie. And speaking of beautiful, we got another good one from Stefan Miller. Are you ready to go back to season 8? I hope so.
I think so.
What if Rick had died in the season 8 finale on the tree after giving his final "The New World Begins" speech to the surrendered saviors and finally grieving Carl? How would things have played out with the aftermath of the war, Daryl, Maggie, Negan, and the saviors and beyond? How would the story have changed?
Be interesting. I mean, it I don't know. I wonder, because Rick stayed with them for another year and a half or so, and then was flown off on the chopper. We know Rick was a big part of the rebuild, but so was everybody else. So I don't know how differently like that whole bridge reconstruction and everything would have fared without Rick. Also, you got to consider that Michonne would still be with the group.
Yeah,
because she wouldn't have went off looking for Rick. Daryl probably would still be with the group. I don't think he would have wandered off and lived in the woods looking for Rick's whereabouts.
Do you think it would have been better, like plot wise, if Rick had left us right then and there, than a couple seasons later and the whole mysterious helicopter thing? I mean, obviously we wouldn't get the Rick movies and all that, but do you think
he died?
Yeah. Do you think that would have been a better departure?
No.
You don't think that would have been better for the show as a whole?
I mean, Rick leaving period's not good for the show because Rick is the heart of the show, and Robert Kirkman always used to love to try to play it like Rick's not the main character, but he is. I mean, Rick is the guy that we followed from the beginning, and I mean, anytime there was other stuff happening, I enjoyed it, but I'm always ready to get back to what's Rick doing? What's Rick doing? So. No, I don't think him leaving in any way is good for the show, but if he would have left that early and just flat out died, I mean, I think holding out hope for the Rick Grimes movie or Rick's return or whatnot is what's keeping us watching these boring-ass shows like World Beyond,
Would you have been okay with Rick dying? That's the series finale of The Walking Dead, and then we get spinoffs, but kind of better spinoffs, like Better Call Saul to Breaking Bad, You mean
he died at the end of season 8, and that was the end of the show?
That was the end of the show.
No, because I was so excited to see the Whispers on the screen, and the problem is they would have went out on a low note because, I mean, let's face it, season 7 through 8 is where The Walking Dead really lost a lot of people because it got slow. They drug out the all-out war for 2 whole damn seasons. It was ridiculous. It should have just, as we've said many times, season 7 should have been the first half of season 7. Season 8 should have been the second half. I mean, there was a lot of crap we didn't need and a lot of really, slow stuff that just, a lot of people I've talked to that quit watching it say they quit watching somewhere in the Negan. Like, they liked Negan, but it just got boring. It just wasn't, so, you would have ended it on a season where you drug everything out. I wouldn't have been. I would have been kind of like, what the hell? And I was really excited to see the Whispers, and I still think Samantha Morton did an incredible job as Alpha. So we wouldn't have gotten that wonderful performance.
Would you have rather seen like a new Walking Dead series pick up after that, and it's told from the perspective of Alpha, Beta, and the Whispers?
That would be really cool.
Like
would she narrate it?
Alpha is the Rick of the show. You see it through her eyes.
They took my daughter.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to kill him. And as revenge, they took my daughter, so I'm going to kill them, and then I'm going to kill my daughter.
Yeah, she was crazy, dude.
I loved Alpha though, man. I loved her. I thought she was awesome. I thought she was great. I really can't wait to go back and rewatch this season, just because I can't explain how much I enjoyed her as Alpha. I thought she was awesome Alpha. Not who I would have imagined playing her, but she definitely made it her own. I mean, I do admit the accent was a little more Southern Belle than I think most people in these times, even in the South, talk. Because a lot of times in the South, if they don't sound like JP or I, they sound like this right here. Alpha would have been more like, I'm going to kill my daughter.
Yeah, imagine like Mama June from Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah, she was more like an old Southern Belle, maybe from down in Georgia somewhere.
From like 1850.
Yeah.
I mean, she straight up time traveled to the apocalypse.
My lands, the Civil War is just tearing this country apart. I hope my husband gets home safely.
And that's the only thing sometimes that bugs me about Kat. Well, was she British?
She was,
I thought so, yeah. That's what bugs me sometimes is they don't, hire like a Southern actor.
Well, we've had Americans trying to don, like we had Anne Hathaway had to do like a British or something accent in one movie that was not really. But I agree, it happens way more, it seems, where British actors portray Southern actors than American actors try to fake British accents.
Yeah,
because it's like nobody I've ever known in my entire life, and I've been plenty of times down to Georgia. It ain't that far away. South Carolina, North Carolina, and I swear on my stars, I ain't never met someone who talked like this, who wasn't doing a live reenactment of the. Yeah. I mean, Georgia. It's funny because if you were to, even though Virginia was part of the Confederacy, if you were to ask people, like I'll never forget we go to the beach in South Carolina every year, and that's below us. It's 2 states below us actually, and you can keep on and end up right in Georgia, but like. Being in South Carolina, my buddy had this Bronco with like big tires, and it was lifted and stuff. And we had met some people down there, and we sit around drinking beer. And he's like, "Oh man," and they talk like he didn't talk like this. He talked like this right here. He's like, "Oh man, I tell you what, I bet that thing right there is sweet when you go do some hunting, ain't it?" And my buddy's like, "Well, actually, I don't hunt." And he goes, "Oh, I forgot. Y'all from Virginia. I could tell from your accents you're Yankees." And yet when we talk, people are like, "You sound such a hick." But you go further south than everybody. You go to the store and it's like, that'll be $9.95. So, I mean, but nobody down there talks like this.
Yeah, Virginia could almost be 2 states because you get up to about Richmond and on north.
Oh, absolutely.
You might as well be in like Pennsylvania.
Like the southern accent just falls away.
Yeah, no sweet tea, no red hot dogs. Yeah.
It's a travesty.
It is.
No sweet tea is not okay.
Yeah, southern part of Virginia, we're going to secede from the state and form our own little state
without civil war, and we just, just a nice conversation. Well, basically, we're going to succeed just so we can keep our sweet tea.
Yeah,
that everyone in our country at that time drinks sweet tea.
Yep.
But I just like I said, I ain't never been anywhere unless it was like old Jamestown. Like I was watching. Remember that old? I don't know if you ever saw this. There was an old Scooby-Doo movie with zombies.
No, I never saw it.
Well, they were in Louisiana, and that's how the girl talked. She was, "Y'all welcome." What was it? It was like they were to this island where they grew the hottest peppers in New Orleans. She almost had more of like a New Orleans, maybe Georgia Belle kind of.
Yeah, I mean, she would have fit perfectly if they were like doing a play of Gone with the Wind or something.
But with that said, I loved her as Alpha. I still would love, just like I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan, but I'd love to see like alternate universe where like John Hamm played Negan. I still think, and I maintain, John Hamm would be the best Negan ever. Mm-hmm. John Hamm is very charismatic and funny. He can be, I feel, just as silly and funny as Jeffrey Dean Morgan, but you could stop. He's a little broader, you know what I mean? Like he looks a little. I go back and I reread the comics and I look at how big Negan was, and I'm like, man. But I would love. But with that said, absolutely love Jeffrey Dean Morgan and what he does. I love Samantha Morton. However, I would love to see an Elseworlds where Sarah Paulson played Alpha.
Yeah, she would have been phenomenal. She's phenomenal in everything.
She's just an incredible actress, and I would love to see her with a shaved head playing Alpha.
Have you seen the trailer for her new movie? It's going to be direct to whatever streaming platform. She's like a deranged mother that, is like abusing her teenage daughter.
Nope, but I'll watch it. I watched her show Ratchet, and while I definitely don't, in my mind, I don't see that being the Nurse Mildred Ratchet from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. With that said, it's still a really good show.
Yeah, so I haven't watched it.
I think you'd enjoy it. It's got a very Ryan Murphy did it, so it's got a very American horror story feel to it, but it's good.
Yeah. We got another good one from Stefan Miller. I feel like I almost should have read this one first just to go chronologically. But anyway.
Lands.
Oh, man. What if Morgan met Negan in the lineup? Would Morgan succeed in talking Negan out of killing Glenn and Abraham?
No.
Or would Negan just kill him? I feel like if all our characters were in the lineup, then Season 8 wouldn't have been as bad, as people like Tara and Enid would have been more likable and humanized after that. So,
how many times have I said it on this here podcast? I have said that Morgan should have either died in the lineup or Morgan should have died in the war. I think the lineup would have made more sense, but I've said it so many times. They set it up. It's just like Sam Wilson getting the Captain America shield at the end of Endgame. You spend all of this time setting up that Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, is going to be the next Captain America. So many scenes of him holding the shield, him catching. There were clues all over the place. And then it's like Captain America comes back and goes, one of you gets to be Captain America. And Bucky's like, oh, boy, this is it. And it's going to be. And Bucky's like, here we go. Sam. Wait, what? Not that I don't love Sam. Sam was awesome. And I think Falcon's a great character. Anthony Mackie is hilarious. But with that said, from just a narrative standpoint, it just really didn't make any sense to me. However, I felt the same way with Morgan. Morgan built the jail cell that Negan would end up staying in for a very long time. All life is precious. Rick, we know from reading the comics, if they were going to follow that plot, we know that Rick decides to spare Negan, even though he has him dead to rights at one point. So with that knowledge that Morgan built the jail cell and that we knew in the future probably Rick was going to spare Negan, it made so much sense for Morgan to die and his death to inspire Rick to take a more all life is precious approach to the situation. And I could have just seen Rick making having a talk with Negan where Negan's in the cell and Rick's down there and he's like, you want to know a strange twist of irony? The first person of our group that you killed is the one that built this jail cell. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, no, I don't think Morgan would have talked Negan down. I think it would have been a great scene. You could have had him, trying to talk Negan out of it. Negan could have been like, well, shit, I've never thought of that. And he turns around and he's like, hot damn, boys. What you think? Should we let them all go? All life is precious. And then, they kind of, nope. And he turns around and just slams Morgan in the head and beats his brains out. And, oh, my God, it would have been horrific and yada, yada, yada. But then, like I said, that throughout the entire war, Morgan, because they shouldn't have, number one, in this situation, though, they didn't kill Carl. Mm-hmm. They tried to give that inspirational role to Carl, and it did not work out. And you had him all of a sudden switch to that just because the plot called for it. I mean, Morgan had been this way since we had reconnected with him. It would have made so much sense. Rick would have gotten to the very end. He'd have slit Negan's throat, and he would have been about to finish him off. And he thinks back, and he hears Morgan's voice, and he remembers Morgan finding him, and Morgan giving him a chance, and Morgan sparing him when he could have killed him, and all of this. And he decides, fix him. And blah, blah, blah. And then, like I said, Negan could have been laying there recouping in the jail cell, and you could have ended that episode with Rick down there going, you want to know are you a fan of irony, Negan? And Negan be like, not say anything because his throat's slit and be like, the man the first one of our people that you killed is actually the man who built this jail cell. I mean, it just would have come around full circle and been fantastic. But no, I don't think Morgan could have talked him out of it. I think Morgan would have been in the middle of all life is precious, and Negan be like, Lucille, or he could have done that. Negan could be like, I don't know, boys. What do you think? What's that, Lucille? Lucille has thoughts about this, and he kind of, I'm sorry, but Lucille begs to differ. Bam! Slams Morgan in the head, and it would have been hard to watch, but like I said, everything would have come around full circle and been much more organic.
If Negan had have taken Morgan hostage, kind of like he did Daryl, do you think over time Morgan could have changed his heart?
I don't think so.
You don't think it just wasn't time for Negan to have that epiphany?
Nothing changed Negan's heart other than sitting in jail for like 6 years. You know what I'm saying? Like in his conversations with Judith.
Yeah.
And like I said, I love Negan's story arc now. It's one of the most interesting parts of the show currently, and I still don't care how people try to explain it away. You know what I made the mistake of doing the other day?
What?
I read the part of the Whisperer War where Negan and Beta brawl because it's such a good fight. He's like, this is my motherfucking Excalibur. Like, because somebody's like, Negan, and they throw him his bat, and he's like, oh, hell yeah. And then he starts whooping the hell out of Beta, which is awesome. He like gives him a side kick, and he's whooping up on him. Just one of the greatest fight scenes in the comics, I feel. And the fact that we got robbed of that so Daryl Dixon could once again be the knight in shining armor, all we got from Negan was, hey, shithead, and then he's on the ground about to be killed. Oh.
Do you think Norman Reedus pretty much pushed for that to have like this big moment in the finale?
I don't think so. I mean, and I could be wrong. I can't. It's hard to gauge someone. I don't want to say judge. It's hard to gauge someone you've never spent any time with. But everything I've seen about Norman Reedus behind the scenes and the way people talk about him, he seems like the easiest going, just most down to earth, cool dude. On the set. So I can't imagine him being that diva-ish, like, the hell with Negan, I should get this kill.
I don't know, man. I kind of feel, I mean, maybe it was like an agent thing. Like, he was like, look, if Norman is going to stay on the series, he's going to need to be the lead.
Well, spoiler alert for the comics, man. Spoiler alert, sorry. But, when Beta does die, it's through Jesus and Aaron, okay? Jesus is gone. We could have had a team up much the same way. We could have still had Norman Reedus come in and save the day, but we could have had a great Negan and Beta fight. Ultimately, Beta is bigger than Negan, so, Negan starts off throwing the smackdown on him, but eventually Beta does best him, gets him on the ground, and right as he's about to kill him, Daryl could have came in and did the same stuff, and you would have been like, then I would have been celebrating. Yeah! I wouldn't have been mad, because Negan didn't kill Beta in the comics, so I wouldn't have been upset. I just wanted more of a fight. I wanted Negan to have his moment. Like I said, it's more of a defense of Jeffrey Dean Morgan because I've loved his story arc so much, and it's like I wanted his moment of him, like they were building all that tension between him and Beta leading up to Negan being in their camp and all of that. There was just we knew it was going to come to a head, and like I said, he could have hey shithead, and then bam hit him with the bat, and gets a few good licks in. It didn't have to be a long fight scene. Maybe smacks him across the head with the bat. Gives him that badass side kick, maybe hits him a time or two more, and then Beta just grabs him and throws him on the ground and pulls out his knives, and that's when Daryl comes over. Shink! I mean, it really could have been just like an extra 30 seconds, and I would have been happy. I just wanted my boy to have his moment. It was one of my favorite moments in the comics ever. I've got a lot of favorite moments, but that one's definitely in like my top 5. Jesus versus Negan, and then Beta versus Negan are like my 2 favorite fights from the comics.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we're never going to get it.
No, but yeah.
Yeah. But Stefan Miller, man, has a good one. We're going further back in time through the Walking Dead timeline. What if Merle ran into Rick and Carl out on a run instead of Glenn and Maggie? How would this altercation have played out? And part 2, what if Shane and T-Dog lived to see Merle again? Would they have gotten along?
Number 1, Rick would have just shot him. Merle would never have.
Oh, my God.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, yes, if it was a situation where I just don't get it, though. Like, Merle at several points didn't even have the gun pointed. Like, Glenn could have just, I mean, they do all these improbable headshots. They're all super marksmen. Glenn could have just moved the gun a little to the left and said, boop, popped his head like a melon. Problem solved, which I get it. I've never been in that situation. I'm talking from a story writing standpoint. I'm sure in a real life situation that would be not nearly as doable as one would think. But I don't know. I mean, you got to assume, I guess, Carl gets a little distance between him and Rick, and then, Merle pops up with her. I mean, with Carl instead of Maggie.
I guess maybe that's how it
Number 1, Rick wouldn't have let Merle leave there with Carl. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, gun to his head, whatever. Rick's more cunning than Glenn is. I feel like Rick would have never let Merle leave there alive, or at least without being shackled. I mean, I feel like Rick would have still found a way out of it. You know what I mean? Kind of the way he did. It ain't the first time Rick's had to talk someone who had a gun pointed at him or someone he loved down. I mean, you had Shane, just ready to kill him, and he got close enough to. So, yeah, no, I feel like I mean, you could argue it would have played out much the same way. If you want to say, like, they did take Carl, number one, I don't believe Rick would just go back to the prison. I believe Rick would be tailing him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. You think the governor would have Rick topless and bend him over the table like he did Maggie?
Oh, God. Is this what you like, you sick bastard? Well, I declare them back muscles. You know who I thought had a very believable accent most of the time? Not gonna say. I mean, it's everybody slips sometimes. I thought the governor had a pretty believable accent.
It wasn't too over the top, man. Yeah, it was all right.
I didn't think there were very few points where I thought his was unbelievable. I'm like, yeah, people around here do talk like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, I would like to think that really it would have never gotten back to Woodbury. I feel like Rick would have figured out. He would have either tailed Merle. I don't think Merle would have gotten out of there as easily as he did with Glenn and Maggie. They were still fresh-faced kids at the time. Neither one of them were that savage. In fact, Glenn being captured and tied to that chair and having to kill that walker, I think is one thing that started hardening Glenn. Uh-huh. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was a savage-ass moment. Like, Glenn was a beast, I mean, but he had never been put in any situation like that before. So that was one of those where he had to really dig deep and find something to bust that chair open. And so, yeah, I don't know, man. And then if Shane and T-Dog would have met Merle, I don't think either one of them would have trusted him.
Nah, Shane he wouldn't have had nothing for him.
Shane probably would have just been like, oh, hey, Merle. Pow.
Yeah.
And then Daryl would be like, no, you killed my brother.
But I feel like if Rick and Carl ran into him and explained that Daryl was at the prison, maybe that would have changed Merle's heart.
Well, and that's different, too. You're right, because that was one of Merle's things, was he was telling Glenn to take him to his brother, right? Yeah. And Glenn had said, no, you stay here, and because the thing was, you got to remember, that is the difference. It's been a while since I've watched that. You got to remember, Merle didn't just appear with Maggie and a gun to her head. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like Glenn turned around doing something and there he is. At one point, if you're assuming that everything plays out the same, at one point, Rick and Carl would have had distance and been aware of Merle. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, Merle showed up and his problem was that Glenn let him get too close. And that's when he made his move. Rick, being a cop and with his training, I don't think Rick would have let Merle get that close. I think Rick would have been like, don't move a step closer. We'll go get Daryl and we'll bring him to you. And the second Merle took a step, I believe Rick would have just shot him in the leg or something and say,
disarm.
No.
Yeah.
You got to think, man, Glenn is basically just an innocent kid in all of this. Rick is a trained police officer who we know his police training has helped him in a lot of different situations. He's good at reading people most of the time. Blah, blah, blah. So, no, I don't think, I scratch everything. I don't think that Merle would have ever gotten close enough to get his hands on Carl. I don't think Rick would have played that schnit. After just losing Lori, too, and Rick was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Because in this situation, you got to imagine Rick is still a bit crazy, but I guess they've convinced him to go out getting baby formula, but he's still a little on edge. So I don't think Merle would have made it out of that alive. But then again, Merle might not have been dumb enough to try that on Rick.
Probably not.
Merle might have actually just done what Rick said. If Rick said, wait here, I'm going to go get Daryl, I'm going to send him to you. Do not follow us. That type deal.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't think that Rick would have let Merle get close enough, and I don't know that Merle would have tried that with him. Because I think he knew that Glenn, from his memory of Glenn was just this little skittish kid that went on runs for him, So, I mean, but when he saw of Rick's the guy that about knocked his ass out and handcuffed him to a roof.
Cool situation, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got to wrap it up with, we don't have to wrap it up. There's one more. It's from Stefan, so we'll get into this one. This is pretty cool, and I don't think we did this one Monday, but if I get into it and we did, just to stop me in my tracks, what if Troy did actually come back with Daniel, as it was rumored to be, within the space between season 4 and 5 of Fear the Walking Dead? We haven't broached this, have we?
Say that again?
All right, what if Troy actually came back with Daniel, as it was rumored to be in the space between season 4 and 5 of Fear the Walking Dead?
Oh, it'd be awesome. I love Troy. It would be awesome. It'd be interesting, though, because we got to assume that Troy remembers that Madison is the one that clubbed him in the head. So, I don't know how all that would, but I know that if what's his fate? Madison was to come back it would not be good.
No, but Stefan goes on to say, how would he, talking about Troy, have changed things with Virginia in season 6? As I am not going to lie, I didn't really watch past season 5 premiere and got by watching podcast reviews. Can you picture Psycho Cowboy Troy? And most importantly, would Daniel ever forgive Troy for what he did to Ophelia, Daniel's daughter, as he did Strand for shooting him in the face?
I think that number one, Cowboy Troy, would be awesome. Morgan would roll up and be like, there's only room for one cowboy, and then Troy would just be like, I'm Cowboy Troy. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man. I think Troy coming back, Troy was the wild card that really shook things up, and that's what I loved so much about his characters. Like, he had some redeeming qualities, and he definitely was helpful in certain situations, but he also was a wild card. You never knew, you never knew when Troy was going to end up causing trouble or make the situation worse. And we said, could Daniel forgive him?
Yes.
I don't.
You mess with somebody's daughter, hell no, he wouldn't.
No, I was going to say, I don't think that Daniel would forgive him on that.
No.
I mean, I think Daniel, I could even see Daniel pretending to forgive him just to, keep a low key. But, I mean, I totally think Daniel would sneak in there and kill him when he had a chance.
Oh, absolutely, dude. And he'd make him suffer, too.
Yeah, the torture scene was wild.
Yeah, man. I mean,
yeah, losing Troy was a big loss to the show, man. I feel like he was killed off way too soon. I don't know the backstory. I don't know if perhaps the actor. Well, a lot of times we get mad at the writers, but there are times we have to realize that it's not the writer's fault, that the actor wanted to be written off the show, kind of the same way with Nick. And even though I hated that Nick died, because I thought Nick and Troy were the two most interesting parts of the show, you got to realize the actor that plays Nick wanted to leave, so they had no choice. And I applaud the writers for taking what was probably shocking news, because I'm sure they were writing the show with Nick in mind for many seasons to come, and all of a sudden you're being told, oh, you got to write off one of the main characters. And they did it wonderfully. Like, I mean, I just remember that episode being one of the most, I would put it in one of the most shocking moments in the Walking Dead universe. Ever. Probably in my top 5, just did not see it coming.
Yeah, man. And if Troy was still around, that would have at least kind of kept the edge on Fear the Walking Dead. We would have lost Nick that sucked, but we still had Troy crazy as hell.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy things.
It'd have been cool to see maybe Nick's death inspiring Troy to be a better person. I don't know. And I mean, it'd have been cool to, I just see a lot that could have came out of that. But no, Troy was an awesome aspect of the show. And I still, man, going back to Nick's death, just because it's just that was so written so well. They're leading this whole they're it's not an unreliable narrator situation. Obviously, you don't have a narrator, but they mislead you. You think that these people I thought we were going to end the episode seeing Madison's death. You know what I'm saying? Which they did, and they ultimately were responsible for her death, but you think that's just all signs point to that's the big reveal at the end of the episode is we're going to see how they killed Madison. And then when Nick gets shot,
yeah.
But Alicia forgave Charlie. I just don't see Daniel being as forgiving as Alicia, man.
No.
I feel like Daniel would certainly wait for his moment, and Troy would be gone.
Yeah.
That could be good, though. I mean, Troy could have stuck around. Maybe he aspires to be better in the wake of Nick's death, realizing that, like, actions have repercussions and yada, yada, yada. And, like, he's trying to be good and the group is growing. He's growing on the group. But then, Daniel, it just kind of leads to a little civil war inside the group. And how do you think Troy would have fared with Virginia's people? I feel like he'd have fit right in line.
I mean, yeah. That was pretty similar to the background from when we first met him. Just a ruthless soldier in a badass army.
I almost feel like he'd be taking a similar approach to Strand. But then I think the difference in Strand, I still like to think Strand is still playing his game. Like, I think that he's just like, at the end of the finale, Strand realizes he's got to double down. Like, now he's got to make Virginia. He's got to convince Virginia now more than ever that he's with her so that he can get his plan. Because in his mind, Alicia and Morgan, they're messing up his plan. And I don't think he's mad at them or planning to do them wrong. I think that Strand, when he gets back and he's like, who's next? I think that was us seeing him realize that I got to kick it into overdrive. I got to really earn Virginia's trust because I got to go ahead and do this thing before it ends up getting somebody else killed. I feel like Troy's problem is he would start off with the same mindset of I got to get in close, blah, blah, blah. But then Troy would just get power hungry. You know what I'm saying? Like he would just, in Strand's shoes, I don't think he would stick to his plan. I think the problem you start having with Troy is Troy would start enjoying playing that part a little bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, Troy was crazy as hell. You don't know what he
You're going to give this man power?
I mean, damn, he might have led another like giant horde of zombies into, the colony or into Lawton. Who knows?
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, man. That's a great thing to imagine.
Oh yeah, Stefan's awesome with the scenarios, and Allie and UV and everybody on the Walking Dead every single week, man. They lay it down, and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So
any more?
Nah, man, that was it. That was
let's do one teaser from last because we normally do them a week apart. Find one on Mondays.
Okay.
We'll do one question for Mondays and then we'll wrap this thing up.
All right.
One question.
Let's see. Here's one from Eternal Wreck. Hadn't heard from Eternal Wreck in a while.
Oh, boy.
What if Beth never got shot? Would that have changed Maggie? What if Eugene and Elton meet each other one day? How do y'all think that would play out?
That would be awesome. Eugene would be like, I almost feel like I have hold on. I used to could do a good Eugene off the podcast. Hold on, let me think. He talks a little more. Damn it. I have to work on my Eugene. I used to have a really good Eugene, and I lost it. I think Eugene and Elton would get along great. Because Elton is not quite smart enough to make Eugene feel threatened, but he is eager to learn, and I think Eugene would just eat that schnit up. Now, then again, though, that's thinking like pre-Whisperer Eugene, because we can see after the Whisperers, Eugene's grown up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Not after the Whisperers, but at the beginning of the Whisperer saga, we learn that after the 6 years have passed, Eugene has grown up quite a bit. But yeah, so I think that Eugene and Elton would get along great, and I totally think if Beth didn't get shot, it would have had a much different impact on Maggie if they would have got her back. I felt like Maggie losing everyone she loves had a big impact on who she became.
Yeah, man, it definitely would have been a whole different show.
Absolutely. But with that said, I know that was kind of short, Eternal Wreck. I'm sorry, but I still feel like Maggie's story would have played out much the same. She would have had Beth by her side because I still feel like Maggie's always been fierce and she's got the leadership in her, and I feel like things would have worked out. I feel like it would have been the same. You just would have had Beth's annoying ass running around, and Beth would have had more of an Enid role as far as being like Maggie's right hand person.
Yeah. For sure, but it definitely a cool thing to ponder.
Absolutely. Well, light us up with them Walking Dead What Ifs, and we will see you again next Monday for more Walking Dead What Ifs. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And with the Podcasting Dead, peace, y'all.